On this week's version of Women of Psychology podcast, the woman that took great strides for women in the field, we will be talking about Eleanor Maccoby. Eleanor Emmons Maccoby was born May 15, 1917 in Tacoma, Washington. Eleanor's parents taught Eleanor to believe in extrasensory perception, astrology, and reincarnation. Eleanor has stated that she was bitten by the bug of curiosity from a young age, to which Eleanor contributes Eleanor's motivation towards the field of psychology. Today, Eleanor is known as a world-renowned scholar in the fields of child development, sex differences, and socialization of children. Eleanor finished high school and later attended Reed College for 2 years. Eleanor then transferred to the University of Washington, where Eleanor graduated with an undergraduate Bachelor in Sciences degree. During Eleanor's senior year, Eleanor married Nathan Maccoby, who was a classmate. Post-graduation, Eleanor worked in Washington, D.C. as a study director at the Division of Program Surveys in the United States Department of Agriculture. In this position, Eleanor learned to design surveys, create samples, achieve scoring reliability, and conduct field research. After the end of World War II, Eleanor enrolled in the psychology doctoral program at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. Here, Eleanor earned her master's and doctoral degree in experimental psychology. As part of Eleanor's doctoral research, Eleanor helped condition pigeons, which was conducted at Harvard University in B.F. Skinner's lab. Eleanor began to work at Harvard as a research associate for Robert Sears. Eleanor was an instructor and later a lecturer. Eleanor began her work with Sears on child rearing practices. Once Sears left Harvard, Eleanor was asked to teach Sears' previous courses, which then led Eleanor to turn Eleanor's focus on developmental psychology. Eleanor began her studies with the complex question of how children develop with methodological precision of scientific rigor. At Harvard, Eleanor conducted one of the first studies of the impact of television of children, as well as studying selective attention of children. These studies concluded many important findings, but one of the recurring themes of this research was developmental improvement and the effectiveness of attention deployment for children. Children's incidental learning undergoes a very small change from middle childhood to early adolescence, unlike central performance, which increases during this period. This means that children's ability to use their selective attention improves with age, where there is an increase in concentration on task-relevant stimuli and extraneous information is ignored. As the task continues, there is a selective approach that is added. Once children hit early adolescence, children become flexible in their attention. This is where children change their approach to attention while realizing that option will maximize the child's performance. It was also generally found that children don't only improve their ability to exercise selective attention as the children's age, but the children also become better to determine when it is appropriate for them to listen selectively. Eleanor led the way in pursuing a career in science, which is rare for women and even discouraged. At Harvard, Eleanor was a member of the faculty club. However, Eleanor was not able to enter through the front entrance or eat in the main dining room. These were only reserved for men. Eleanor was only one of 2 women in the Stanford psychology department at the time she was hired, and later became the first female chair of the program. This still did not grant Eleanor access to enter through the front entrance or eat in the main dining room. Later, Eleanor moved and transferred to Stanford University as a faculty member. Eleanor helped edit many studies on the development of sex differences that brought together scholars from different disciplines and theoretical perspectives. Eleanor collaborated with Carol Jacklin on their groundbreaking work of the psychology of sex differences. This book was written by Maccoby and Jacklin, which also revolutionized thinking about sex differences and continues to have tremendous impact on the field today. This book reviews literature covering biological, psychological, and intellectual aspects of sex differences. Before, sex differences were thought to be that men and women were fundamentally different in abilities and personalities. Eleanor and Carol rigorously examined the data, including unpublished failures. Carol and Eleanor found that many of the common opinions that were thought to be true were found to be myths. Eleanor and Carol also demonstrated that gender differences can be situational. These findings led to an interest on children's own culture of self-segregating by gender. Research has shown that once segregated, boy and girl groups follow different rules, leading to the guide that socialization of these children. Children and boys, men and women, operate very differently. For girls, what they learn in their same-sex groups, such as taking turns and listening to others when they speak, puts girls at a disadvantage when in adolescence and adulthood, not teaching them that they must function and succeed in mixed-sex groups. In intimate relationships, there's often an establishment of an equal relationship. However, when in gender groups, there are gender socialized, the ways of interaction often disadvantages women. Eleanor was also very interested in socialization, but did not view it as a one-way street like assumptions at that time had viewed it. The common belief was that parents strictly influenced children. Research found that children influence their parents, as well as the opposite of parents influencing their children. Eleanor retired in 1987. After retirement, Eleanor published 3 books. One book includes Eleanor's work with Robert Mnookin. Maccoby and Mnookin studied children in the law and how the effects of children of different parents of custodies in divorce situations affect the children. Eleanor noticed that in the 1980s, over half of the marriages ended in divorce. This then led developmental psychologists to focus on the negative effects that were examined in children due to divorce. Funds were obtained to study custodial arrangements and interparental communication and conflict over 1,000 families going through divorce. This research resulted in 2 books, Dividing the Child and Adolescence After Divorce. Beyond these studies that were completed by Maccoby and Mnookin, there's no other research that has been conducted about how cooperative co-parenting between the non-resident fathers and custodial mothers directly benefits or harms children. Through all of Eleanor's findings throughout her career as a psychologist, Eleanor did not like being considered a role model. Eleanor's only goal was to encourage her students to develop their own ideas. This is shown by the multitude of awards that Eleanor received over the years. A few of these awards that Eleanor was elected to was the National Academy of Sciences, the Institute of Medicine, and the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Eleanor also won the G. Stanley Hall Award from Division 7 of the APA and the Lewing Award from the Society for the Psychological Study of Social Issues. In 2002, Eleanor was named one of the 100 most eminent psychologists of the 20th century. At this time, the list only included 6 women. Not only was Eleanor's academic work applauded, but also Eleanor's work for women in the field of psychology at this time. Eleanor worked for more equitable positions for women on campus, as well as helped establish the Center for Research on Women at Stanford. Eleanor not only studied gender in new ways, but stated that since she was a professional woman, that she in a sense lived it. Her goal was always to improve the lives of children and families, which she did in her part through her never-ending services to the profession. Unfortunately, Eleanor passed away on December 11, 2018 at 101 years old. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you join us next week for another Great Woman of Psychology podcast, the woman that took great strides for women in the field.